Welcome back, everybody. I am Cantor Vera Brookhuizen. I'm the spiritual leader of Temple Emanu-El here in Haverhill, Mass. I'm with Rabbi Rachel Putterman and Phil Platkow as we prepare for our Mussaf services today. And so in your Machzor Chadash, we're going to begin with the Chatzi Kaddish, which you'll find on page 596. ויתגדל, ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברך חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומייכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב, ויאמרו אמן. ישנה רבה מברך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמי יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לעילא ולעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו Amen. We'll continue with our private prayers, starting in the back of the Machzor and then continuing on page 598. And when we come back together for the Hineni, that will begin on page 608. Take some time for private prayer. And please be standing in body or in spirit. If you are still praying privately, please continue. I'm going to go on with the Hineni on page 608. הנני הענייה ממעש, נרעשת ונפחדת מפחד, יושב תהילות ישראל. באתי לעמוד ולהתחנן לפניך, על עמך ישראל, אשר שלחוני. אף על פי שאיני חטאית והגונה לכך, לכן אבקש ממך, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, אלוהי ישראל. שדי היום ונורא, איינה מצליח דרכי, אשר אני הולכת לעמוד ולבקש רחמים, ולבקש רחמים עליי ועל שולחי, ונעל תפשיים בחטאותיי, ואל תחייבם בעוונותיי, כי חוטאת ופושעת אני. ואל יקלמו בפשעי, ואל יבושו הם בי, ואל אבוש אני בהם. וקבל תפילתי כתפילת זקן ורגיל, ופרקו נאה וזקנו מגודל, וקולו נעים ומוריו בדעת עם הבריות. והנה דילוגנו עליך אהבה, ועל כל פשעים תכסה באהבה. כל צרות ורעות, כל צרות ורעות, הפכנה לנו לכל ישראל, לששון ולשמחה, לחיים ולשלום, האמת והשלום יחברו, ואל יהי שום מכשול. ואל יהי שום מכשול בתפילתי. ויהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוקי אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, האל הגדול, הגיבורי הנורא, אליון, יחי אשר יחי, שתבוא תפילתי לפני כיסא כבודך, בעבור כל הצדיקים והחסידים, התמימים והישרים, ובעבור כיבוד שמך הגדול והנורא, כי אתה שומע תפילת עמך ישראל ברחמים. ברוך אתה שומע תפילה we continue with the words of the psalmists and then turn to the back of the Machzor for the start of our repetition.
Ya-na-na-na-na-na-na Adonai. Ya-na-na-na-na-na-na Svatai Tiftach. Ya-na-na-na-na-na-na Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ya-na-na-na-na-na-na Adonai. Ya-na-na-na-na-na Svatai Tiftach. Ya-na-na-na-na-na Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ya-na-na-na-na-na-na Adonai. Ya-na-na-na-na-na Svatai Tiftach. Ya-na-na-na-na-na Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei hakol V'zocher chasdei avot v'imot U'mevii koel Livnei b'neihem Leman shemo be'avo Misod chachamim nvonim umilemed dat mevinim Evtecha fi bitfilah v'tachanunim lechalot ulchanin b'nei melech malei rachamim mochel v'soleach lavonim Zochreinu l'chaim mechafetz b'chaim v'chotveinu b'sefer ha'chaim v'ma'achnu Elohim chayim Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah Atah gibor le'olam Adonai Mechayim iti matarav le'oshia Mechalkei החיים בחסד מחיים מתים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופאים מחיי המתים. ובכן לך תעלה קדושה, כי אתה אלוהינו המלך. ונתנה תוקף קדושת היום, כי הוא נורא ואיום. ובוא תנשא מלכותך, וייכון בחסד כיסאך, ותשב עליו באמת. אמת, אמת, כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח, ויודע ועד, וחוטא וחוטאים, וסופר ומונה, ותזכור כל הנשכחות, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומאליו יקרא, וחותם יד כל אדם בו. ובשופר גדול ייתקע, וכל דממה דקה יישמע. ומלאכים יחפזון, וכאילו רדה יוחזון, ויאמרו הנה יום הדין, לבכור על צבא מרום בדין, כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדין, וכל באי עולם יעברון בפניך, כבני מרון, כבקרת רועה עטרו, מעביר צאנו, תחת שבטו כבקרת רועה עטרו, מעביר צאנו, תחת שבטו. כן תעביר ותספור ותמנה, ותפקוד נפש כל החי, ותחתוך קצבה לכל בריאה, ותכתוב את גזר דינם.
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון.
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייחתמון. כמה יעברון וכמה ייבראון, מי יחיה ומי ימות, מי וקיצו ומי לא וקיצו, מי ואש ומי ומים, מי וחרב ומי וחיה.
בראש השנה ייכתבון, וביום צום כיפור ייכתבון. בראש השנה ייכתבון, Mika umivaskila mianuach umianuach mishakit umitarif miyashalev umiyasar miyani umiyashir mishafil umiyarum uteshuva utefila utedaka maviri nedro agzera.
For this afternoon's Kedusha, please turn to page 25 in your supplements and sing along with the choir for Holy Holiness, Kedusha.
All around, everywhere, all around, everywhere, holy, holiness. In the highest sky, in the deepest sea, in the deepest sea, in the highest sky, in the deepest sea, holy, holiness. In my heart, in your soul, in my heart, in your soul, holy, holiness. In all we do, in all we do, in all we are, in all we are, in all we do, in all we are, holy, holiness.
Every step,
Every step,
every breath,
every step, every breath, holy, holiness. As with me, so with you, so with you, as with me, so with you, holy, holiness. All around, everywhere, all around, everywhere, holy, holiness.
Please turn to page 618 in your Machzorim for Ledor Vador, and you are welcome to sit if you would like to.
Ledor vador nagid volecha, ledor vador nagid volecha.
Please turn to page 627 for All the World and sing along with our choir.
All the world shall come to serve thee, and bless thy glorious name, and thy righteousness triumphant the islands shall acclaim, and the peoples shall go seeking who knew thee not before, and the ends of earth shall praise thee, and tell thy greatness o'er. They shall build for thee their altars, their idols overthrown, and their graven gods shall shame them as they turn to thee alone. They shall worship thee at sunrise and feel thy kingdom's might, and impart thy understanding to those astray in night. They shall testify thy greatness and of thy power speak, and extol thee shrined uplifted beyond the highest peak, and with reverential homage of love and wonder born, with the ruler's crown of beauty thy head they shall adorn. With the coming of thy kingdom, the hills shall break into song, and the islands laugh exultant that they to God belong. And through all thy congregations, so loud thy praise shall sing, that the uttermost peoples hearing shall hail thee crowned King.
We turn to page 631, and I invite Andrea Pentabona to lead us in that reading. We are on page 631, and I invite Andrea Pentabona to lead us in the reading of Deliverance to our Oppressed. Andrea, are you here? Okay. Phil, will you read for us?
Cantor, deliverance to our oppressed. May it be your will, Lord our God and God of our ancestors, that you be merciful to those of our people who are victimized and oppressed. Lead them from darkness to light, from enslavement to redemption, from sorrow to joy, speedily in our own time. Accept in mercy and in love the worship of your people, the house of Israel, on this day of atonement.
Amen. We come to an Aleinu, and this is the last one where we have the opportunity on Yom Kippur to stretch ourselves out on the ground and to make a full prostration. So I invite you, as we hear a beautiful kavanah for it from Wendy Wise, to look around, and if you're comfortable, if your body is liking the idea of doing this, find some space around you where you can prostrate fully as well, and you can feel yourself held up by the ground as together we affirm God's rulership and God's control.
When I Touch the Ground in Prayer by Rumi. When I touch the ground in prayer, I have no other purpose but you. All else I speak about, gardens, flowers, nightingales whirling, is only an excuse.
We are on page 632. Aleinu leshabeach l'Adon hakol, latit gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשחרים ומודים לפני מלך, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Nanai, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, yanna, nanai, nai, yanna, nanai, yana, nai, nai, dai, ya, dai, la, da, dai, 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 ya, da, dai, na, 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 dai, 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 na, 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 ya, na, 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 ya, 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 na, 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 na.
We transition now into our Avodah Service, a special service for the afternoon of Yom Kippur. And the traditional liturgy of the Avodah traces through 3 different confessions and sacrifices that the high priest makes. But I want to focus for today on the idea of tracing something that no longer happens or that is no longer accessible to us and yet is so important that it's still part of our celebration, it's still part of the regular rhythms of our lives. And earlier this summer, I was learning some Talmud with a Talmud Chavruta group, and we looked together in Tractate Eruvin on the acceptable height for a doorway, which you have to calculate as you're thinking about making an eruv. And those measurements trace themselves back to the layout of the Mishkan, the Holy Temple, which when Eruvin was spoken about and then written down, the temple was long since rubble. So Rav Yehuda says that Rav said the rabbis only derived this halacha that an opening more than 20 cubits high is not considered an entrance, so it has to be at least 20 cubits high, from the doorway of the sanctuary, the inner sanctum of the temple. And Rabbi Yehuda only derived his own opinion that even an opening more than 20 cubits high is considered an entrance from the doorway of the entrance hall. So they're 2 contrasting opinions, but they're both coming back to the same physical layout of a sanctuary of the Holy Temple. So people tend, I think, to reference our present times, our present actions by our pasts, and often we don't think about it. If you think of the last time somebody gave you driving directions, you turn right where there used to be the grocery store, and then you go down the road a ways, and then you turn left at the red house where the Koppelwitzes lived until their daughter went to college, and now there's a new family in there. Keep going till you see the barn where in the winter the farm stand is there. You can't miss it. Sound familiar? But there are some places that we think about and we guard in memory and we bring out for ourselves because they are special to us. They are signposts to our souls, and we weight them with memory and with ritual. They might even feel holy to us. And these may be places that we can't physically visit anymore, whether or not they still exist, but we still use them as grounding and as reference. So for 2 minutes today, I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable and pick one of those places for yourself. It might be a home, it might be a garden or somewhere else out in nature. It might be another building or a room. It might be a particular spot somewhere on a street. But find that space inside of yourself. Step in and look around. Walk around. Trace the boundary. How does it smell when you're there? How old were you the last time you visited this place? Do you remember what happened there to make it special for you? Breathe. And now ask yourself what you might need from this space and your memory of it this year. How does it make you feel to be in there again? Imagine it. And breathe. And that place will always be accessible to you. The same way our holy texts preserve these images for us, that place will always be inside you. And all you need to do when you need it is to reach. Take another breath. And open your eyes. We turn to page 641 in our Machzor, and I'll chant the third confession of the high priest. וכך היה אומר, אנשים חטאו, עוו, פשעו לפניך, עמך בית ישראל. השם, כפר נא לחטאים ולעוונות ולפשעים שחטאו ושעוו ושפשעו לפניך, עמך בית ישראל. ככתוב בתורת משה עבדך מפי כבודך, כי ביום הזה יכפר עליכם, לטהר אתכם מכל חטאותיכם לפני אדוני. והכהנים והעם העומדים בעזרה, כשהיו שומעים את השם הנכבד והנורא, מפורש יוצא מפי כהן גדול, בקדושה ובטהרה, היו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים ונופלים על פניהם ואומרים, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואף הוא היה מתכוון לגמור את השם כנגד המברכים, ואומר להם, תתהרו. בטובך, מעורר רחמך, וסולח לדעת ישורון.
So just a little context, which you may already know, I'm not sure, but Phil's dancing, his celebrating. So what this is all is, which I think Cantervere mentioned, is we are reenacting this thing that happened at the temple where the high priest would go into the Holy of Holies, which was very risky, and the people would be outside and he would make these confessions. And there was this unknown, was the confession going to be accepted by God or not? And so when the priest came out, that was the big celebratory moment. The community could breathe a sigh of relief and dance in joy that the confession was accepted by God. And that's signified by the priest surviving this experience of this experience of being with God and surviving it and coming out. So now I'm going to sing we're on page 26 of our supplement. And this ties into what Cantervere was saying about a sanctuary, that we don't have this temple anymore. I mean, we have the wall in Jerusalem, but we don't have the temple. And so this is about us making ourselves the sanctuary. Ve'asu li mikdash ve'shachanti betocham va'anachnu nivarech ya me'atah ve'ad olam. O Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and in thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da 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 da, ya da da da, ya da da da.
We rise in body or spirit as the ark is opened on page 644 for the Shema Kolenu.
Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, Shema, Kolenu. Shema, 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 Kolenu. Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chos v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel berachamim uvratzon et tefilateinu. Hashivenu Adonai Eloheinu elecha v'nashuva Chadish yameinu, Chadish yameinu kikedem. Shema תשליכנו מלפניך, ורוח קודשך אל תיקח, אל תיקח, אל תיקח ממני, אל תיקח ממנו. אל תשליכנו כעת זקנה, ככלות כוחנו, אל תעזבינו, אל תעזבינו, אל תעזבינו, אל תעזבינו, אדוני אלוהינו, אל תרחק ממנו. שמע שמע קולנו, שמע שמע קולנו, שמע שמע קולנו, שמע שמע, שמע שמע קולנו.
We turn to page 648 as Sandra Cassen-Deerdorf leads us in the short vidui, the Yashamnu. We turn to page 652 to 653 for the long vidui, the long confessional, the achet.
We have sinned against you by forgetting that we are made in your image.
And we have sinned against you by forgetting that others are also made in your image.
We have sinned against you by sacrificing conscience on the altar of comfort.
And we have sinned against you by surrendering abiding values for fleeting pleasures.
We have sinned against you by meeting petty irritations with fierce anger.
And we have sinned against you by greeting massive wrongs with cool indifference.
We have sinned against you by remembering too long the hurts we have suffered.
And we have sinned against you by forgetting too soon the hurts we have inflicted.
V'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu V'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu Selach lanu, mechalanu, kaper lanu.
We have sinned against you by squandering the riches of our heritage.
And we have sinned against you by neglecting to study and teach Torah.
We have sinned against you by abandoning our noblest ideal.
And we have sinned against you by clinging to old prejudices and evil habits.
We have sinned against you by neglecting the needs of our families.
And we have sinned against you by evading our responsibilities to our people.
We have sinned against you by ignoring the weak and the suffering.
And we have sinned against you by forsaking the lonely and the oppressed.
V'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu V'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu Selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu.
We have sinned against you by emptying our lives of sacred rites and holy days.
And we have sinned against you by filling our days with trivialities and seeking status.
We have sinned against you by speaking words of gossip and harsh rebuke.
And we have sinned against you by withholding words of encouragement and praise.
We have sinned against you by failing to do our utmost in our work.
And we have sinned against you by not serving God in joy.
We have sinned against you by not becoming all that we could be.
And we have sinned against you by not permitting others to become all that they can be.
V'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu V'al kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechalanu selach lanu mechalanu kaper lanu.
We continue on page 658 with the priestly blessing, the Birkat Kohanim.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yo'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichaleka
you and be gracious to you. May God turn God's countenance to you, and may God grant you a full life of joy, love, and peace. Peace for you, for Israel, and for all humankind.
And now we continue with Sim Shalom. Sim, sim, sim shalom, sim shalom tova uvracha, sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha. Ein v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael amecha, v'racheinu avinu kulanu ki echad, v'yar panechad. Ay, 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 sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha, sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha. Ki v'yor panecha natata halanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Torat chaim v'yachavat chesed, tzedaka v'racha v'rachamim v'chaim v'shalom. Ay, 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 sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha, sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amecha Yisrael v'chol et uv'chol shah b'shlomecha. Ay, 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 sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha, sim, sim, sim shalom tova uvracha.
We continue with the Sefer Chaim.
Sefer Chaim beracha v'shalom ufarnosa tova nizacher v'nikatev lefanecha anachnu v'chol amecha beit Yisrael לחיים טובים ולשלום.
Baruch atah Adonai oseh hashalom.
Please rise in body or in spirit as we turn to page 660 and open the Ark for Hayom.
Hayom, 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 hayom te'amseinu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom. Hayom, 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 hayom tekameinu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tiktrenu letova, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tiktrenu l'chaim tovim, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tishma shabbatenu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tikabel rachamim uvratzon etinatenu, amen. Hayom, 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 hayom tiperenu mitzvecha, amen.
היום תמחול ותסלח לכל עוונותינו. אמן.
We turn to page 662. Please remain standing in body or in spirit for the Kaddish Shalem. יתכתב ויתקדש מרפא, בעלמא דברי חירותיה וימליך מלכותה, בחיי חונוב ימי חונוב חיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמך רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמך תקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה, לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחה דפניכם מטה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צאתון ובטון לכל ישראל, קודם ופוהון דבשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו amen. It's our custom as part of our Yom Kippur early afternoon services to remember people who have died because of their Jewish identity for reasons where they need not have died. And I know Rabbi Rachel has a word or two she'd like to say about that to us.
Yes, so what I was going to acknowledge is that the beginning of this Jewish year, last winter, fall, there were some anti-Semitic attacks in Poway, San Diego, and then in, I'm not sure exactly when that was, but it was definitely in this year, in this Jewish year, and then in December in Brooklyn, where Jews lost their lives at the hands of anti-Semitism. And then we have more recently George Floyd, who lost his life at the hands of racism, and many others, a situation similar to him. And now we have all of the victims of COVID, Jewish and non-Jewish, who some of whom were unnecessary deaths. So there's a lot of martyrs that we're recognizing this year.
And we turn back to those words that Elie Wiesel popularized the melody for so beautifully. We're on page 742, and it's a statement of faith and a statement of hope. Ani mamin be'emunah shleima b'vias HaMashiach. Ani
באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח אני מאמין באמונה שלמה בביאת המשיח ואף על פי שיתמהמה אחכה לו ואף על פי שיתמהמה אחכה לו ועם כל זה אני מאמין אני מאמין אני מאמין.
Please turn to page 747 in the Matzor for a poem by Hannah Senish. Blessed is the match that's consumed in kindling a flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the secret depths of the heart. Blessed are the hearts that know when 'tis honor to cease. Blessed is the match that's consumed in kindling a flame.
Eile Ezkara. These things do I remember and pour out my heart. Harmony thick like winter honey, dancing sweaty, holding strange hands, a laugh like a bellows from a brother's frame now buried. Ehye asher ehye. Breath that keeps us in life but carries death, fingers crossed behind its back. Behind the mask, my breath comes hot and heavy, and flying down the highway I pray, Ima, remember us, so that we needn't pile stones for each other atop the mound of the dead. We turn to page 755, and I invite everybody to rise in body or spirit as you're comfortable for the Kaddish Yatom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmech rabba, be'elma divra chirute v'yamlich machute, b'chaye chon uvyome chon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmech rabba mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yitalal shmech tekudsha, b'richu. Le'ela ul'ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran be'almah, v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshevei tevel, v'imru amen. We conclude our martyrology service on page 26 as Phil leads us in Hatikva.
As we remember all of our martyrs, we look to the east, as we have for millennia, and we remember our holy land of Israel, of Haifa, of Tel Aviv, of Beersheba, and of course, of Jerusalem. Join with me. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi omiya ulfate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia od lavda tikvateinu atikva bat shnot alpayim להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים.
And this concludes our Mussaf service. We'll come back together in 10 minutes at 2 o'clock for Yizkor. If you're able to, if you have the stone that you placed, just know where it is. There will be an invitation to go and get it. And Yizkor should last about half an hour, and then there will be some time in breakout rooms for anybody who wants to do a little bit of sharing and remembering the people who you have lost and remembering their names aloud with one another. And at 4 o'clock, we'll have Mincha, and Ne'ilah is at 6:30. For Ne'ilah, please make sure there's something you can break your fast with at the end of the service. If you have a shofar or something to make noise with, please bring that then too. And also if you want to join us in making Havdala. So have whatever materials that you have and you would like to use near you for Ne'ilah. We'll reconvene at 2 o'clock. Tzom Kal, Gemar Tov.